and Shirley MacLaine. So it's all been held out on display. She was married to Paul Simon. She was engaged to Diane Aykroyd. I mean, she almost, every time she tripped over, she just bumped into some other icon and was their equal. And so there were all these great strings to her bow. And then she put everything down on paper. She shared those memories with all her fans. She made people realize that perhaps all that glitters is not gold in Hollywood. And she certainly had that great sardonic sense of self and humor that kept her feet firmly on the ground when many people could have lost their way.
Yeah, she had a fantastic sense of humor, and she was also, as you said, so open with the struggles that she had with alcohol and drug abuse, and she made it art in the books that she wrote, and her experiences, and even her script editing and things like that. All those experiences fed into her work.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm sure that she became one of these great go-to people because she'd been living that world. She'd been in this trilogy, this era-defining trilogy. People knew that she was somebody who really knew what she was talking about when she knew what made a story work. But also, yes, as you say, she cherry-picked the fun bits of her own life, and she was able to see it for what it was. Although she lived that surreal existence, that Hollywood that golden cage of being so famous from the minute she was born, she was also able, it felt as though she was standing back and looking at it through the wry eyes of an observer, and then using it to great comedic effect in her memoirs, in her novels. I mean, one of her books recently, she said herself on her one-woman tour that she had to write because, as your correspondent said, she was diagnosed with bipolar, and she had all sorts of very, very harsh, quite challenging treatment. And so many of the things she said herself, she wrote down because she was scared that all perhaps the surgery and medication, she would forget everything. And these were priceless gems that nobody would want to forget.
Caroline, thank you so much for speaking to us. We'll leave it there for the moment. I just want to bring you some news, some reaction. Graham Norton on Twitter, who we believe was pretty close with Carrie Fisher, has tweeted in the last 10 minutes. I just want to read it to you. It says, "Numb. Unbelievable that such a bright, funny, loving spark could be extinguished. Carrie Fisher, you will be missed. I wish you peace." That's Graham Norton, the British television presenter, on Twitter. Let's go back to Greg Milam, our correspondent out in the United States. If you are just joining us, the news that Carrie Fisher has died at the age of 60. And Greg, could you just remind us what's happened in the last couple of days for people joining us?
Yeah, and I think actually Graham Norton was will have been one of the final people to have interviewed Carrie Fisher because she was on that book tour in the UK, and it was on a flight returning from London here to Los Angeles on Friday that she fell ill, and numerous people who were on that flight were revealing details of what happened. It appears that there was some medical personnel travelling as passengers on that flight, and when they were requested to help, they performed CPR on the plane. It seems to have happened not long before the plane touched down here, and there was a paramedic team from the Los Angeles Fire Department on the tarmac. They took Carrie Fisher to hospital, the UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital, where she has been since Friday. And at various times in the last few days, we've had information from her family, her brother Todd, her mother Debbie Reynolds, who they live next door to each other in Beverly Hills, that she was in a stable condition but in the intensive care unit. But I think the fears, certainly bearing in mind what some of those passengers and the crew of that plane has said about the fact that she was clearly in some distress on that flight, having suffered apparently a heart attack, the fear was that she was very unwell, and I don't think for many of those people this will come as a surprise. I think the fear that she was so unwell, and here we are a few days later, that confirmation from her daughter Billie Lourd in a statement that she has passed away. And the movie industry, those who were friends, those who were fans of Carrie Fisher, begin to pay tribute to her that they perhaps would have been preparing, and some had already paid from Friday when she fell ill.
Greg, thanks very much. We'll be back to you over the course of the evening, but we can now speak on the phone to James Burns, who's the co-owner and editor of Jedi News, a Star Wars news and fan site. First of all, I have to ask your reaction. She of course, has a huge list of achievements and other work, but she will be known as Princess Leia, and the reaction of Star Wars fans, I suppose.
I think we're all devastated. I mean, she was an iconic person that we all grew up with. For a lot of us, in our mid-40s, she was somebody that we all had our first schoolboy crush on, if you like. And it's immensely sad and especially as she was rejuvenating her career, and she was back in The Force Awakens last year in cinemas everywhere, and she had such an impact in that film. And for all this to happen so suddenly, she was only in London, you know, a few days ago. She was on Graham Norton's show. She was doing other things. She was doing a book signing in Piccadilly, and it's so unfortunate.
And for you, how will you remember her? And also, you know, she was so young when she got that part in Star Wars. She was catapulted to worldwide fame. How will the franchise and the fans remember her?
She was an amazing personality. She was full of life. She was the life and soul of every party. She always had something comical and fun to say. And she was such an amazing human being, and we're all going to remember her in different ways. Obviously, her legacy will continue. She has filmed her role as Princess Leia for Episode 8, and that's in the bag. So we are all expecting to see her in that. There were planned reshoots for, you know, the middle part of next year. So obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with that now. But in terms of her and remembering her, she was Princess Leia. She was the first self-rescuing princess. And you know, and everybody moans about, you know, how women haven't been portrayed particularly well in films over the last 40, 50 years. And you've only got to look at what she did in Star Wars. She was self-rescuing princess. She was that feisty female, and that's how we're all going to remember her.
Yeah, James, talk a bit more about that. At the time, how rare was it to have such a strong female lead, if you will, in Hollywood?
Well, I think everyone was amazed at the fact that we did have such a strong female lead, and this woman, you know, had come to the forefront at such a young age, as you said a few minutes ago, and she was so strong, and her reaction to some of the characters, you know, Peter Cushing, and some of the others around her was astonishing, and she really showed them how to do it, and how this character could manifest itself on screen and take over. And you know, the way that she was portrayed in those first three films was amazing. She held everyone's presence, and everybody loved working with her. And I know there's been lots of stories and revelations ever since that have come out about her, but she was amazing in those films, and she gave it her all. And she was, you know, she changed, I think, film for everyone, and she is a role model, I think, for lots and lots of women today in terms of what she's achieved and how she's achieved it, and everything that she's been through, all of the alcohol and the drug abuse and everything that she's been through, to come through it and to still be as strong and vivacious as she was. It's horrible to say as she was, but she really was an amazing human being and a fantastic person to be around, the life and soul of the party.
James Burns, co-owner and editor of Jedi News, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us on short notice. Just a reminder of our breaking news this evening. In the last half hour, it's been confirmed that Carrie Fisher is dead at the age of 60. The family statement said it is with a very deep sadness that Billie Lord, who is Carrie Fisher's daughter, confirms that her beloved mother, Carrie Fisher, passed away at 8:55 this morning. That's according to a family statement. The Star Wars actress Carrie Fisher dead at the age of 60 after suffering a heart attack on a flight from London to Los Angeles 4 days ago.
Carrie Fisher won the hearts of generations as Princess Leia in arguably the most beloved movie franchise ever, Star Wars. Princess on screen, Hollywood royalty off it, with a sharp wit and sharper pen. Fisher was born in Beverly Hills. Mother, actress Debbie Reynolds. Father, singer Eddie Fisher.
I was primarily brought up by my mother, but I saw my father.
Fisher deftly wove her experiences as a showbiz kid who struggled with addiction into the best-selling comedic novel, Postcards from the Edge.
I was writing different takes on obsession, so I think of that as sort of the edge, and I thought of it in the car one day, driving back from Palm Springs with the music up loud.
Fisher turned her acclaimed book into a movie starring Meryl Streep as a recovering addict embroiled in constant, often funny, mother-daughter drama.
Remember my 17th birthday party when you lifted your skirt up in front of all those people,
I did not lift
including
my
that guy
skirt.
Michael?
It twirled up!
Fisher poked fun at the absurdities of showbiz life and all manner of self-medication, including taking pills to control her emotions.
Any mood stabilizer is a weight gainer. So whether you feel better, but then you're fat, So what you gain is a loss. It's not a good situation.
Fisher spoke about being bipolar and often turned pain into humor, also writing wishful drinking and shockaholic. There seemed no lack of material. After all, Elizabeth Taylor became her stepmother when Eddie Fisher remarried. Fisher was briefly married to singer Paul Simon in the 1980s. Years later, she gave birth to a daughter, Billy Catherine, from her relationship with agent Brian Lord. She debuted in the acclaimed film Shampoo.
I'm nothing like my mother.
In between the Star Wars movies, Fisher landed a mishmash of movie roles, some stinkers, Under the Rainbow, Hollywood Vice Squad.
I bet you have names for every part of your body.
Received praise for Soap Dish.
I think we found our waiter.
And played Meg Ryan's wisecracking friend in When Harry Met Sally.
Someone is staring at you in personal growth.
But nothing could, would, or perhaps should loom larger on screen than Fisher in Star Wars.
It transported you. It was extraordinary entertainment filmmaking.
Do you like the princess?
I have her over sometimes. She's a little bitchy, you know.
Yeah.
Nearly 40 years after making Star Wars, she wrote a book based on her diaries and for the first time revealed an intense affair with the real Han Solo, Harrison Ford. It was Han and Leia during the week and Carrie and Harrison during the weekend, she wrote. Ford has not commented. Fisher spent a lifetime trying to separate the princess from the person, one wisecrack at a time.
I always felt like I was restricted because I was bigger than life and twice as unpleasant.
Rest in peace, Carrie, trending nationwide. I'm going to go ahead and click the trend and show you guys some of the tweets coming in nationwide as Rest in Peace, Carrie trends all across the country. News is just breaking now. Sean McGuire saying, she was my first crush, part of our collective childhood. She was gorgeous, feisty, and brilliant. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. The Golden Globes tweeting, may the force be with you always, Princess Leia. Prince Jackson. That's right, the son of Michael Jackson. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. I grew up watching your movies, and your role as Princess Leia will inspire many in the face of adversity. Many people posting, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Here is a quote posted by HelloGiggles.com. I don't want my life to imitate art. I want my life to be art. Many people with broken hearts. Dean Dobbs posting, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. And may the force be with you. Also adding, I feel like I've been punched in the gut. So many Star Wars fans out there, so many Carrie Fisher fans out there, finding this moment extra difficult to deal with. 2016, a year of many celebrity deaths. We just reported on the death of George Michael yesterday as he passed away on Christmas Day, Sunday at his home in England. Now Carrie Fisher passing away in Los Angeles today following a massive heart attack on a flight from London to LAX on Friday. Tweets from you viewers tuning in. Ricky Lilo tweeting me, Carrie Fisher, how sad. The force will be with you and you will be with us. We love you. Sammy Thompson tweeting me, we have lost Carrie Fisher, but we shall all remember her not just as an actor, but as a person who devoted her life to make us happy. Joseph sending me this message, I grew up with Star Wars. She was amazing. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Hashtag may the force be with her. Heloisa Castro tweeting, gosh, my childhood hero dead. She will always be in our hearts and the world will never forget her. Rest in peace, princess. Meanwhile, Glitchy Snow tweeting me, Samia Fox 10, rest in peace, Carrie. You molded my childhood, and to this day, I have never stopped loving Star Wars because of you. Sleep well. Meanwhile, Razvan Dragu sharing his thoughts. Samia Fox 10. Leia was one of the characters that pioneered strong woman in cinema. She will be sorely missed. May the Force be with you always. Again, many people sharing their thoughts on the passing of Carrie Fisher. Some people left speechless, unclear what exactly to say, learning their childhood hero is gone. Carrie Fisher, dead at the age of 60. She was flying from London to Los Angeles on Friday when she suffered a massive heart attack. It seemed she never was able to fully recover. Passengers that shared that flight with Carrie Fisher described her as lifeless following the heart attack. Now, the family spokesman, Simon Halls, released a statement to the press on behalf of Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd. It is with a very deep sadness that Billie Lourd confirms that her beloved mother, Carrie Fisher, passed away at 8:55 this morning. She was loved by the world and she will be missed profoundly, says Lourd, who is 24 years old. Our entire family thanks you for your thoughts and prayers. Fisher was flying from London to LA on Friday, December 23rd when she went into cardiac arrest. Paramedics removed her from the flight and rushed her to UCLA Medical Center where she was treated for the heart attack. Fisher was the daughter of renowned entertainers Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher. She was brought up in the time of tumultuous film, theater, and television. She left Hollywood in 1973 to enroll in the Central School of Speech and Drama in London, where she spent over a year studying acting. Just 2 years later, though, the bright lens of Hollywood drew her back, and Fisher made her film debut in the Warren Beatty-led film Shampoo. Her role in Star Wars would follow that in 1977. She detailed the experience, including her on-set affair with co-star Harrison Ford, in her latest memoir, The Princess Diarist. She was only 19 when the first installment of the beloved sci-fi franchise was filmed. In addition to the second and third Star Wars films and last year's The Force Awakens, Fisher starred in the 80s Blues Brothers, The Man with One Red Shoe, Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters, and in 1986, later, she starred in When Harry Met Sally. Fisher wed musician Paul Simon in 1983. It was an explosive marriage, according to Homeward Bound, The Life of Paul Simon author Peter Ames Carlin. It was cut short because of swinging stages of depression, the actress's drug use, and an array of personal insecurities. The relationship continued, though, on and off for several years after the pair divorced in 1984. Now, Carrie Fisher was candid about her substance abuse issues over the decades, starting at only age 13 when she began smoking marijuana. She said she later dabbled in drugs like cocaine and LSD. Fisher explored her own issues with addiction in her 1987 best-selling semi-autobiographical novel, Postcards from the Edge, which was later turned into a film starring Meryl Streep. She wrote about her diagnosis with bipolar disorder. In 1985, she subsequently became an outspoken advocate for mental health awareness. Carrie Fisher once said, "I never could take alcohol. I always said I was allergic to alcohol, And that's actually a definition to alcoholism, an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind. So I didn't do other kinds of drugs until I was about 20. Then, by the time I was 21, it was LSD. I didn't love cocaine, but I wanted to feel any way other than the way I did. So I did anything. Throughout much of the 90s, Fisher focused on her writing career, publishing Surrender the Pink and Delusions of Grandma. In addition, Fisher helped craft the scripts for a number of Hollywood films, going uncredited for films like The Wedding Singer, Hook, and Sister Act. Agent Brian Lord. The pair dated for 3 years. The father of Billy Lord, now married to Bruce Bozzi. The two had been partners for decades. In 2005, Fisher was recognized with the Woman of Vision Award by the Women in Film and Video, DC. 3 years later, Fisher's wishful drinking autobiography was turned into a one-woman stage show and eventually an HBO documentary. Of returning to the role that launched her career, Leia, for The Force Awakens, Fisher told People magazine in 2015, "I knew that something enormous was likely going to impact my life from this film and that there was absolutely no way of understanding what that was or was likely to be." That film, which brought Fisher back into the spotlight, earned her a nomination for the 2016 Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actress. Just last month, Fisher also revealed her surprising on-set affair with Star Wars co-star Harrison Ford in The Princess Diarist, saying, "It was so intense." That was her way to describe their 3-month fling. The memoir, which drew from Fisher's old diaries and notebooks, brought up mixed feelings for the actress. "I had forgotten that I'd written them, and I've never written diaries sort of like that. I write when I'm upset. It was about 2 or 3 months of being upset." Fisher said, "It was sad because I was so insecure and it's very raw, and obviously I didn't expect anyone, including myself, I suppose, later on, to read it." I want to go ahead and read some of your thoughts once again. Dustwise, tweeting, "Today the Force is out of balance. Rest in peace, Leia Skywalker, our princess. So many, myself included, grew up with you as an icon." Alicia, truly heartbroken. "I grew up with her and she made my childhood wonderful. I love you, Carrie." Killian tweeting, "Gosh, my favorite princess died, a fighter till her very last breath. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Rest in peace, Princess Leia. Hashtag may the Force be with you." Dustwise, sharing their thoughts, "Celebrity deaths usually never get to me, but Carrie Fisher, 2016, has outstayed its welcome. Not our princess. Please no." Black Goku tweeting, "Carrie Fisher will rest in peace. May the Force be with her." Ariana tweeting, "Princess Leia was one of my favorite characters. It is so heartbreaking to hear that she's gone. May the Force be with her." Timothy Edward sharing this tweet, "She's always an inspiration. Since I was little, goodbye, Princess. May the Force be with her." Also sharing this photo collage from Timothy Edward. NoCats.net saying, that they loved her in the smaller roles as well, like the Blues Brother and Austin Powers too. Lightning Wing saying it's so sad to see Carrie Fisher go. Her role as Princess Leia was always funny. Everyone will feel the disturbance in the Force.